Hello dear friends, today we are going to talk about a simple use case when you use Microsoft Forms with Power Automate. So this will be an example how the services can be integrated, and this will give you an idea, where to start when you want to use multiple services and put Power Automate as a logic app between those services. So in our case, we will have the following. MS Forms, this is a service from Office 365, and this service will be used for data input. So basically a user will fill in a specific form, and the data what is filled into this form will serve as an input, right? This data will be stored in a SharePoint list. So in a SharePoint, it's like a table, you can think of a SharePoint list as a specific table of data with some columns. And so SharePoint will be our data storage, right? And of course, then I'll create a flow that will serve, that serve as a logic app that will actually save specific inputs from form and store it in SharePoint list, right? It's quite simple, introductory, but for those who have never done it, it might be interesting. So let's see what we can start with, right? I go to my Office 365 portal, right? And here I go to office.com, and at office.com I can navigate. I can open here. If I click on all apps, there is one called SharePoint. And this directs me to a main, SharePoint site. I can create a new one, or maybe I'll just create a new one, right? So I go here, create a site. It will be either team site or communication site. I'll just use a team site here. And for the site name, I use MS Forms Test, right? So this will be a site that is solemnly dedicated to the Forms test. I leave all settings as defaults, and then I will be an owner of this site since I created. I'm not going to add any owners or members. Just go ahead and click finish. And that's it. The site is provisioned. It's quite fast, right? Now what I'll need to do is to create a list that will be used to store data based on the form input. So let's say for the form, maybe we can either use a default, maybe it's possible to even use a document library. You see, this document library has a name, modified, and you can add some other columns. Or let's see. Yeah, let's try that. I'll just go ahead and use documents. So this will be a document name. This, then I can add a column. Let's say it will be a single line of text, would be contact, a first name, right? And let me just make it very simple. It will be contact last name, right? So I add a column here, contact last name, also a single line of text. Now I have two columns. So let's say a birthday, right? There will be a date, birthday. And for this case, I just use a date and time, include time, no, okay, save. So this is a simple list I have. And this list will store our data. So it will have well, it's a bit confusing because it has the name and then it has the first name. It's a double, right? So let me remove this one. I just go ahead and delete this column settings, edit. Okay, how do I go here, edit, delete, right? The column is deleted now. So this column I'll rename and call it first name, because normally this first column is always it's a must to have, right? It's a mandatory column. So now I can move the columns around a little bit. And let's say our form will have only 3 values: contact first name, contact last name, and the birthday, to keep it really, really simple. And this data from the form will be stored here into this list, which is default document library. We'll see also if it's possible to do it with a default library or if I have to create a new list for that. So that's something that we'll find out. Then I go to office.com again, and if I navigate to all services, right, to apps, here there is an app called Forms, and that's the one I have selected. So I create a new form. It's very straightforward. I call it contacts birthday, right? No description. Then I have a text which will be what is your name, right? Then I have a second question that will be also a text. What is your last name? And I add a third column that will be a date, and this date will have what is your birthday, right? So now I have 3 columns, all of them are required, and the form gets saved automatically. I can also preview it, how it looks like, right? And and I can also share it, right? So for people to actually fill this form, it has to be shared first. So let me copy the link, right? So if I go to this link, then the form opens, and whoever fills in this form clicks submit, then the responses are recorded. So as an example, right, I put my name, my last name, and then the birthday. Let me put for the birthday, I put you know, whatever the dates, submit, right? The response is submitted. So if I go back, so if the form owner, whoever created this form, goes back to the forms here, he or she will see responses, right? So I have this small dashboard with 1 response. There is a name, last name, and a date. Now what we'll try to do is to create a flow that will actually store these responses in a SharePoint list, right? So I go back here, create a flow. It will be automated cloud flow, right? Because we are only using cloud services here. One cloud service is Forms and the other cloud service is SharePoint. So we create a automated flow, give it a name, save from Forms to SharePoint. And of course, you see there is already a tip here when a new response is submitted. So I use this as a trigger when a new response is submitted in Microsoft Forms. Then, of course, I have to sign in first. I pick a form. Currently I have only 1 form, so it's quite easy. It's called Contacts Birthday. Then the next step. So the next step would be to, let's say what we have with SharePoint, what kind of actions we have here, and copy file, create item, create new folder, create files. Let's see which of them makes sense. Probably we'll try this one, create item. And this one should create items in a SharePoint list. So I have my site. No, this is a communication site, but the one that I want to be using, where is my site? It's called like this, right? MS form test. So I go back to my flow. For the site name, I put a custom value, right? I put the site here. And then I create a list. For the list, let's try documents. Save. Oh, you see, I have forms now, right? Title, contact last name, birthday, and description. So this, you see here it says title, and in the site itself it says name. So the actual columns that we see here, these are the real names of the columns. So title here would correspond to the first name in our SharePoint site, right? So then we create an item, and for the dynamic content we put when the new response is submitted, we can put the response ID, but how can we fill it in with the actual form data, right? For this, let's see what other actions we have under forms. Microsoft Forms, we have this one called get response details, right? So basically this is a trigger when the form is submitted. Then we get the details of the response based on the form, and from this part we can get the form ID, right? Unique identifier of the form, and then ID of the response, response ID. So it means that person 1 submits a response, right? And his response ID is 1. So basically this action, get response details, means that we retrieve all the details of person 1's response, right? And after that, we create an item in a SharePoint list, or a SharePoint document library in this case, but technically it's still a list. And after I have this action here, get response details, then you see under dynamic contents, I get more things. So for title, we will put the first name. Where is my first name? What is your name? Then last name, we will fill in with the last name, and birthday, submission time. It looks like because we have birthday set as a date and time, it's not so straightforward to pull in this content. So it's easier just to put it as a single line of text. Let me go back to the SharePoint list, my SharePoint list, and here I have a birthday, right? Let me column settings, I edit this, and then I select single line of text as the type of this column, right? I save it. And now when I go back to the flow, I have to, let me save it first, right? And since it's been saved successfully, now I can edit it again. The reason I did it, I saved it first because this column is not refreshed yet, right? So we still need to get this birthday, right? So now I see here birthday. So this flow is extremely simple, but you get an idea, all right? The main goal here is just to learn, for you to get to know how it works and what it means. Once again, to summarize, first we get a response which is submitted. This is a trigger that starts the flow. Then we get the response details, and then we create items in SharePoint. Very simple, just like that. So if I go back, this was my last submission. And one more time, I'll do the steps. I have the forms, right? I have one response here. Now I want to share this form. I copy the URL and then I go to the URL. Well, in the real case, another user would go there, but I show with my own user, so you get an idea. Here I put my name, last name, you know, whatever it is, and then the date of birth. Of course, it's not 2011, but let's see. I'm in 2021. So I submit. And then what should happen? My flow runs, right? Let's see. It shows it failed. Why did it fail? Let's have a look. To add an item to a document library, use SP file collection add. So the thing is, right, when we create item in SharePoint, there is a difference between a list and a library. If I want to create item in a specific list, then I use create item. If I want to create a file in a library, then I would use another action here. So this is something you can keep in mind, right? So it didn't like our action. So let me edit the action. What I try to do now is to edit the action in the following way. First, I delete this one, and then I look at SharePoint, and then create item did not work. So let me create a file. Where is one? Create file, it's called, right? Now I go to the site name again. So I copy it from the browser, right? I have to put it as a custom value. So let me put it as a custom value. Then there is a folder path. So for folder path, well, it makes it a little bit challenging, right? Because what we have here is a site address, folder path, file name, and file content. And this is we do not really need, right? We just need a list with a username and you know, his birthday. So this is not going to work. Again, let me delete this. The best and the easiest option for us, as I see it, would be to create a new list. So if I go to site contents, and what I'll do, just create a new list, blank list, birthday, I call this list, show in navigation, okay. So now I have this one. I rename to first name. I add another column with a single line of text which is called last name, and then I add a column also with a line of text. As I showed you before, it's easier to do it this way instead of a date. With dates, maybe I'll show you later, but for now, we just use a single line of text. We have the first name, last name, and birthday, right? Birthday, saved. So these are the columns we have, and the list is called birthday. So let me try again. I go back to the flow. I hope you follow me. What we tried to do is to add items into SharePoint library. Documents is a library, so the library expects some files to be there, and list expects just some values for the columns. So for when we work with forms, it's easier to use lists instead of library. Of course, we can have some workarounds, but list would be the preferred option. So when a new response is submitted, I get response details, and the next step, I try again, SharePoint item, create item. I go back to, let's see, how do I do it? Custom value. For the custom value, I put the name of our site. Then here I have the list already pre-populated, birthday. The title will be what is your name, last name will be what is your last name, and the birthday will be what is your birthday, right? Save. Now I have it saved, and since it's a automated flow, it will be triggered automatically when the response is submitted. So I go back, submit another response, and put there, let's say, John Smith, right? And for the birthday, I put, whatever the date is, click submit. Let's have a look at the flow. What happens now? Now you see my flow is successful, right? It shows the status succeeded. If we look within the flow, it gets the response details, right? Response ID and whatever details we provided. And afterwards, we create an item in SharePoint, right? It's all green. So let's have a look at our actual list. This one I can close. If I go back to the SharePoint list, which is called birthday, I refresh, you see now I have John Smith and his birthday. So just to summarize one more time, it's a good practice to use SharePoint as a data source. Of course, you can use other options like, Excel table located in OneDrive for Business or in other cloud storage. But the easiest, the simplest way is to use SharePoint, right? And for the flow, you just create specific actions, right? For the actions, the trigger should be when a new response is submitted. Then you get the response details, and then you do the action in SharePoint. Of course, it's simple, but you get an idea, you can build on that. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope it's been helpful. Have a wonderful day and stay healthy. Bye-bye.